The preteen years are crucial for kids and parents.
Yeah, don't we know it? Experts say development is happening earlier and communication is key to navigating the ups and downs of daily life. And Dr. Is it Shirley? Sheryl, sorry.
Yeah.
It's in there a little wrong. Ziegler is a licensed clinical psychologist. She's here to discuss the importance of mental health for families. And, you know, I think we all want to know, what can parents do to help our kids? You know, they say, help me, help you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There's so much here. But one of the things I want to say first is that we really do need to focus on our own mental health first. And I know we go, and we want to pour into the kids. But one of the things we know is if we can be happier, more connected to friends, that's a huge one. Don't let the friendships go. Really focusing on managing our own anxiety and depression, that allows us the space to listen to our kids, to see the signs in them that otherwise, if we're too stressed or too burned out, we don't see it.
It's that idea of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first before other
can
people.
we say that enough? I mean, but it really is true.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
It is hard to do.
I have to say, we have a 10-year-old in our household, and some days it's like he's 15, and some days it's like he's 5.
Exactly.
So what is going on?
What is going on? So 10 years old for a boy is considered within the average range to be probably going into puberty. And one of the things that we also
It's so young.
It's so young. It's so sad, isn't it? But in some ways, I say it's sad because they sometimes they are like a little kid, and then sometimes they're like this grumpy teenager.
Correct.
But one of the things that we know is that puberty happens in the brain first. So what's confusing is I don't know if you're seeing a growth spurt yet. You might say, no, not really. Seems like average size.
Yeah.
But that's one of the misnomers. We think, once the voice starts deepening, or they start to get acne or things like that, visible signs that they're in it. That's a year before it starts in the brain with the chemicals and neurotransmitters and the moods. That's why we're really like confused, especially with the 10-year-olds, but that's what's happening. So that's exactly perfect.
Okay.
5 sometimes and 15.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. And it just depends on the minute.
That's right. That is exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, kids are under so much more stress, it seems, than we were, because they have social media, they're exposed to devices, you know, everybody's growing up faster than we did. How do we help them manage that stress in the world that we live in today?
Yeah, well, just the first part of it is what you said, just having the education to say, it's not just my kid, because that's what makes us feel really lonely, right? Like, should I talk about this? Because it's not just your kid, it's kids in general. Really limiting social media is important. So the American Academy of Pediatrics put something out last week that said it's not about necessarily the time.
Oh, it's not.
Right, now they've kind of rolled that back a little bit, although personally the families that I'm working with, I think time helps. I think the structure helps. But it's really more about quality content, still limiting the content, but they're just saying, instead of saying no more than 30 minutes a day or an hour a day. So that's one of the biggest things, though. Just realize they need to get outside, they need to play. Like, your 10-year-old still needs to play, although sometimes he's acting 15.
Right.
They need those things, and we can't let that go to screens. Don't use the screen as the babysitter, because all of those things are stressful in multiple ways. It disrupts their sleep, which makes them look really irritable. So really thinking about, yes, what did we have that we loved about our childhood? Try to get some of those things, especially getting them outside and playing.
Structure is really, I would assume, really important at this stage.
Really important. Really, really important.
Yeah.
So what is happening is their days at school are super structured, right? And so they know when they're going to eat lunch. And that's why so many parents say to me, why is my kid fine at school? And then they come home and they just totally fall apart.
Right.
And there's multiple reasons for that. But one of the big ones is the structure, the predictability, the consistency. And that's what we as parents, we are just as distracted and addicted to our screens as they are. And so we go, oh yeah, 5 more minutes on that, right? And then we get lost in doing something. Before you know it, it's been 30 minutes. And you're like, oh, I told you to get off of that. Get off of that. Right? So they need that. Otherwise, they can easily get lost in distractions in other places. And so the other thing I want to say is, just with sports and activities, a balance of structured, that's great, but also a balance of free play and just like creativity.
Well, this has all been wonderful. I do, before we have to let you go, you have a book out.
This is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to hoard this.
You read it, then pass it to me.
I will. We'll make sure we do that. Thank you so much for being here. This was fascinating.
And we will survive, right?
We will survive. I promise we will. But we can just make our lives a little easier and the teen lives a little easier too.
Perfect. Well, let's get